Jesse Moore secured his Olympic berth at the Oceania Championships. The Pan American Junior Championships took place in an open-air arena, and the U.S. National Championships are happening this week. For those new here, my name is Kinsley. I'm the host of Neutral Deductions, a podcast all about men's gymnastics. This is episode 32, where we are going to focus on previewing the U.S. National Championships.
This is the Neutral Deductions podcast, men's gymnastic news, coverage, and analysis. Hosted by Kinsley Beal.
The U.S. National Gymnastics Championships are happening this week, and results from the National Championships will, of course, be used to award individual all-around and event medals, but it will also serve as the first 2 days of the Olympic selection procedures. So both the National Championships and the U.S. Olympic Trials will be used to select the Olympic team. And if you haven't listened to our last episode, you may want to do that first because I break down how the National Championships play into selecting the Olympic team. The National Championships themselves will take place in Fort Worth on Thursday, May 30th and Saturday, June 1st. The junior competition will stream at 1:30 both days on USA Gymnastics YouTube channel, and the senior competition will begin at 7 p.m. on Peacock with tape delay on CNBC. Just a reminder, this year there is no bonus system, so we are going to see who is the actual best gymnast to stand on top of that all-around podium. Looking at who may win that all-around title, I've sort of narrowed it down to 5 gymnasts who I think are very similarly in the running to be considered the champion for the United States. The first is, of course, Koi Young. So Koi is a great all-arounder. He's a little bit unbalanced in his all-around competition, very similar to Hashimoto. So Hashimoto is a little bit weak on rings. Koi is a little bit weak on rings. It obviously doesn't mean he won't win because look at Hashimoto. Hashimoto won the Olympics and won world titles with having one event that's a little bit weaker than the others. But that's just something to keep in mind as you're watching Koi. Koi should have a D score around a 33.2. It's one of the lowest out of these 5 that I'm going to talk about, but he's exceptionally clean, and that makes his gymnastics beautiful to watch and experience, but it also means he has less room for error. The second gymnast I want to look at is Asher Hong, who is also a Stanford gymnast alongside Koi. Asher has one of the highest difficulty scores, maybe the highest difficulty score that's going to be shown at the National Championships this year with a 35.5. Vault is a place that really helps him. He is the only athlete probably going to be doing a 6.0 vault here at this competition. So that really helps boost his difficulty score. However, I'm a little unsure of how he is going to look overall here. He's been nursing a sore back and he didn't do all around at the NCAA championships. We actually haven't seen him do all around in several months. And so I'm just unsure if he's going to come in with his big difficulty score and if he's going to be as clean as he needs to be to retain that title. Asher, of course, won the all-around title last year at the National Championships thanks to the bonus system. But again, the bonus system is not going to be in place here, so he's just going to be on his own fighting for that top spot. The third athlete I want to mention is Fred Richards. So Fred was the first male American gymnast to win an all-around medal since Jonathan Horton did so in 2010. So he took home bronze last year behind Hashimoto Daiki of Japan and Ilya Kovtun of Ukraine. He has told us over the years that he's going to bring a 5.6 vault. And if he does bring that vault, then we're looking at him increasing his difficulty by about 0.4 of a point. So I'm expecting his D score range to be somewhere between 33.9 and 34.4. Fred is another athlete that I'm really interested to see how he does. He didn't look great at camp or at NCAAs, but we've seen this happen sometimes with athletes who truly wait to peak for the big moments. And so I'm really curious to see if he has saved what he has left in the tank for national championships and Olympic trials, or if this is just going to be an off year for him. The fourth gymnast I think is in the running for the all-around title is someone that I think a lot of people are overlooking, which is crazy to say because he is a world champion on high bar, and that's Brody Malone. So I have had it confirmed that Brody is going to be doing all-around at the national championships. If he does all of his difficulty at nationals, he will have a 35.5 D score. Now compare that to Hashimoto at last year's World, who had a 35.2, I believe, and I think Ilya Kovtun had a 35.3. So that's a higher D score than either of the two of those athletes. I think that this will be either the highest or the second highest all-around D score of the competition. And if Brody hits, it's going to set him up very well to take that all-around title. And to be honest, I think a lot of people are overlooking him, and I don't think people will see it coming when he shows up and he's got this massive D score. So you heard it here first. That being said, it will be his first major all-around competition, I believe, since the 2022 World Gymnastics Championships, and of course doing all 6 apparatus in a competition setting where there is so much on the line. Of course, mistakes would be understandable, but he is such a competitor, such a good competitor, and I'm expecting great things from him this coming weekend. The 5th athlete I think is in the running for that all-around title is Yule Moldauer, and Yule is coming in probably with a 34.9-ish D score. He is extremely consistent, and he's also really well balanced. Now his D score is a little bit less than some of the bigger ones like Brody or Asher, but he's extremely clean and consistent. So for him to be able to take this all-around title, he has to make sure and control his landings because he is going to be down just a little bit on D score. So he's changed his floor routine around just a little bit. He now opens with a full in double layout. He used to open with a Randy, which is a punch front 2.5 twist. So he's upgrading and changing some of his routines around. So look to see him take that title as well. The reason I focused in on only 5 athletes who I think are in the running for the all-around title is because the top 5 athletes are automatically selected for the national team and to go to Olympic trials. So here's how you qualify to Olympic trials. Be top 5 in the all-around. You have to be the next 5 in the point system. The next is discretionary selection, so there's going to be a minimum of 5 athletes named there. And then also members of the senior development team will also be invited to Olympic trials. So again, just a rundown of who I think is going to be top 5 in the all-around: Koi Young, Asher Hong, Fred Richard, Brody Malone, and Yule Moldauer. Now, the people I think will probably be next 5 in the point total after those athletes: Shane Wiskus. Watch his high bar, 3 Tkachevs in a row, which is really exciting to see. So in the men's code of points, you can only do 3 Tkachevs as if at least 2 of them are connected. And he actually does all 3 of his connected in a row. So that's something I would look forward to seeing. He also beat Yule day 1 of Winter Cup, so he could be someone who slides into that top 5 position if some of the other athletes don't show up. I think Curran Phillips is probably going to be invited to trials through the point system. He is going to do his Shufelt vault, not the Yurchenko triple that we saw at the camp. The Shufelt has just been a little bit more consistent for him lately. He is also going to be adding in floor, so he's going to have 4 apparatus that he is competing on. So floor, vault, parallel bars, and high bar. Then there's Riley Luce. Riley is an incredibly consistent all-arounder. He usually places in that top 5 in the point system after the all-arounders, so I think he's one that will probably be invited. Of course, Paul Judah. Paul Judah was on the team with the Americans who won that bronze medal at the World Championships last year. And then my next pick for the point system is Donnell Wittenberg. So Donnell told us at camp that he is going to be adding his Rise Guang back, which is that 6-0 difficulty vault. Now, I'll believe it when I see it because he's taken that out of his repertoire for the last couple of years just because he has either struggled with the block or didn't like the vault that it was going to go on. So different vaults have different bounce and spring and they can be harder to control. But I think that Donnell will probably be invited to trials based on the point system. Moving on to discretionary selection, if he hits Steven Nedorosik, I would say guaranteed to get one of those discretionary invites. He's going to have a 6.5 D score on pommel horse. I believe he is going to be taking out his G-flop at least for day 1 of nationals, possibly for day 2. He's just looking for some consistency. His pommel horse routine has had extreme highs winning World Cup golds, and he's had extreme lows like at the 2022 World Gymnastics Championships when he, I think, barely scraped together an 11 or 12 after having a really horrible routine. So this time I think he is looking to say, hey, a 6.5 with a 6.5, I know I can make pommel horse event finals at the Olympic Games. I can be consistent with a 6.5 routine and I can be an asset to the team here. So like I said, if he hits, I think Nedorosik definitely going to Olympic trials, no question. I don't think they'll take 3 pommel horse specialists, but I could be surprised. So I think that assuming Nedorosik hits and hits to what he's capable of, I think one of either Patrick Hoops or Brandon Dang will be selected. So Patrick Hoops beat Nedorosik at the Winter Cup competition. And then Brandon Dang had some mistakes and ended up coming in a little bit lower overall in the total, but he is a very, very good pommel horse worker as well. I think Colt Walker will certainly be selected to go to Olympic trials, I didn't exactly know where to put him because I'm unsure of what his D score is going to look like. We haven't really seen him in the all-around this year. Last year, if those of you remember, he actually would have won the all-around title if there hadn't been the bonus system. So he's an incredibly strong all-arounder. He was on that 2022 world team. He was the alternate last year. He makes a really good alternate just based on his strengths, but he could also be one to make the team as well. So I'm not exactly sure where he'll fall in based on getting to Olympic trials, but I feel pretty strongly that he will be invited to Olympic trials through one avenue or another. Fuzzy Bennis of Oklahoma has had a really strong season. He scored 85 in the all-around, which is a really, really big number. I think he'll probably be invited via discretionary. And then Alex Diab as well, assuming that he does his best on still rings, the one event he'll be competing. Now, the last way to get invited to Olympic trials is by being a member of the senior development team. The senior development team is currently Landon Blix and Kai Umera. Landon will still be 20 by the time this competition happens. He turns 21 in December, so you can only be part of the senior development team if you are age 18 to 20 at the time of making the team. I don't really think there's going to be a lot of changes to this team. I think Landon Blix will retain his spot. I think Kai Umera will retain his spot, and that will be the senior development team, and then they should get invited to Olympic trials as well. Moving on to the Junior Pan American Championships. So the United States won the team title at the Junior Pan American Championships. Adam Lackamy took home the all-around title with a 77.267. So it's a little bit lower than a really good score that we would see from senior athletes. But remember, on 5 of the events, that seniors have 2 more skills that have to count. So 77 for a junior is a really, really respectable number. And then Xander Hong won the floor title there as well. Oceania Championships happened this past weekend as well, where Jesse Moore won the all-around title. He was the only athlete to break 80, and he also beat Clay Mason Stevens and Heath Thorpe. So Clay will be the backup, the reserve athlete, and we look forward to seeing Jesse in Paris. So if you would like to support men's gymnastics and support our efforts, please go and rate us and review us on Apple Podcasts or wherever you get your podcast. It helps others find neutral deductions and learn more about men's gymnastics. If you would like to bring more live men's gymnastics coverage, please consider donating. A massive thank you to Julie, The Refined Pen, Jeffrey, Philadelphia Boys Club, and Aaron, who donated in the last week. We are entirely listener supported, and at this point, even $10 helps us cover a meal. So truly, if we can get 20 people to donate $10, that is meal coverage for the entire national championship. And so that really, really helps us out. Please don't ever think, oh, $10 isn't enough. It really, really does add up and help. A member of our team is headed to the national championships. So again, if you are able and willing to help bring this coverage to life, the PayPal link is in every show note and at the bottom of every article on neutraldeductions.com. And you can also donate via Stripe. If you have any questions, comments, or insider tips, you can email us at neutraldeductions@gmail.com. That's all for this week. We'll see you next time.